thank you for attending today's Lunch and Learn, SolidWorks Guide to Resources, Beginner's Guide. What we're looking at today is all of the things that we are provided, whether it be through the SolidWorks installation, through the SolidWorks website, through CAD Dimensions website, or just straight out on the web that we can use to start learning more about the SolidWorks software. Now, part of our webinar today, if you have any questions, please post them in the questions section of the GoToWebinar window. I will take some time at the end of today's session to go over those questions and answer them. But today we're going to focus really on the beginning. How do we get started? What things do we look for in the interface? A couple things. I have just a quick poll here. I want to find out how many of you have attended a Lunch and Learn before. So if you wouldn't mind just voting, you should see a little vote option here. I just want to see how many of you are new to what we have. We've got a few more to vote. Good. So let me just show here. It sounds like everybody has attended a Lunch and Learn at some point in time. Next thing is SolidWorks training. I want to know how many of you are or have been to SolidWorks training. Okay. All right. Most of you have voted here. And the group, most of you have been to training. So I just want to get a kind of an idea of if you may have run into these things through training or through a previous Lunch and Learn. That's good. But hopefully today we'll have a few more solutions for you. So Beginner's Guide to SolidWorks Resources. I kind of broke this down into 4 different areas. One we'll call the SolidWorks web. These are web pages that SolidWorks is managing and putting resources out. I want to talk about how we get to those. There are several resources that get installed with the SolidWorks software that may not be so obvious. Some are obvious, but some are not. I want to kind of take you through where those are, where to get them, and how to utilize some of those resources as well. Then obviously we are your value-added reseller. Well, how do we add value, CAD Dimensions, to what you're doing as far as learning the software? Well, we put out a lot of content. I want to show you where that's found, the things that you can get access to, including today's webinar, which will be recorded and placed on one of our resource pages for you to get access to. And then I just have a section called online resources. And, literally we could have a 2-hour Lunch and Learn on just all the different online resources. I want to point you to a few of my favorites and in places to look. So let's go ahead and get started. When we talk SolidWorks web resources, we're talking things that SolidWorks have developed for our use. The first one is help.solidworks.com. Most of you probably did not know that if you just typed in help.solidworks.com, you can get to a web version of the SolidWorks help where you can search on anything you need to. There's also a site called my.solidworks.com, and I hope the group that we have online at least has a pen and a paper and is able to write some of this stuff down as we go through. There's a tool called the Customer Portal, which we'll talk about. SolidWorks has developed their own YouTube channel, and they are also the contributors to a site called 3D Content Central. So let's start with help.solidworks.com. So I'm just going to jump out to a web page here. And help.solidworks.com is exactly that. You type in help.solidworks.com, and I have mine actually bookmarked here. And what you'll see is an electronic version of the help. The great thing is it encompasses multiple versions, multiple languages, and multiple products, including the new 3D Experience products, the connection tools. So first resource, very simple access to any of those. If you click on SolidWorks, it's going to bring you to the SolidWorks Online Help. off to the right-hand corner, you can search. Let's say we searched on Toolbox. It will search everything and bring up results. When you find the one you're looking for, okay, it takes you right to the online version of that help. It's just like any other web page. Back and forward will take you to and from the different sections that you're working on. So if I wanted to maybe go into, notice this, all the way back to 2010. If I wanted to go through and go to the 2010 and I wanted to learn what things were going on in 2010 or the version that I'm using, here's the help that was released then. So first one is help.solidworks.com. Now the next one is probably, if there's any piece to today that is going to be most important for you, it's going to be this next one. It's called my.solidworks.com. Now, my.solidworks.com has been utilized by SolidWorks. Dassault actually purchased some technology a few years back that allows you to aggregate internet information. So it basically goes out to different sites and it brings all the information to one site. Now let me take you to this. I'll even type it in, my.solidworks.com. Takes you directly to a web page. Now you do need to have a login, and I'll talk a little bit later where we get the login, but there's a single login for all of the SolidWorks sites. Once I provide the login, I'll go ahead and type mine in here. It brings up this my.solidworks.com. That's really a place, as it says, a place for all things SolidWorks. So it will actually go out and search many different areas of the web for information. So if I type in, let's say, sheet metal in this case, when I type in sheet metal, it gives me a list of all the relevant results based upon sheet metal. But it looks in all sorts of different locations for results. You'll notice one of the results is looking into the knowledge base, and I'll talk a little bit more later on where we get that. This is the question and answer from SolidWorks Tech Support if I want to find out all technical issues related to sheet metal. Or if I wanted to go to the SolidWorks forums and find out what people were talking about as it relates to sheet metal. Or, as we just showed, the web help. If I select the web help, here I can get access to items that are specific to sheet metal in the help. Notice I also have the ability to bookmark pages within here and get to a bunch of other resources and various categories within SolidWorks. I would say this is going to be your first place to go to find something out about SolidWorks. Now, it just doesn't end there where we type in some information and are provided with some results. It goes a little bit further. There's a section called CAD models. Now, what this does is it connects you to a tool called 3D Content Central that I'm going to bring you to a little bit later. But again, here, a resource for downloading 3D CAD models. There's a tab for training, which there's multiple hours worth of training and downloadable video support out here with individual lessons on topic. And again, you could search the individual topic up here to the top right. There's different learning paths. And if I view all the learning paths here, if you're trying to learn about flow or DriveWorks or drawings or routing, you just grab a path, let's say sheet metal 2 here, and it tells you, okay, here are the lessons that are in this path, and you just click here to navigate to the lesson, and it has all the files, everything you need for this, all out on the web. Okay, so it tells you what version of the software you're going to use, how long it takes. So there's a lot of resources here. There's also links to the SolidWorks forums, so other information that SolidWorks users are discussing. Two other things that are I kind of neat here. There's a support section to learn about any SRs or SPRs, which means any issue that you've provided to CAD Dimensions that we've actually had to go back to SolidWorks. You can actually see what support information you've entered to SolidWorks and what the current results of those are. There's also a link to the system requirements page. You can automatically download service packs from here. Okay, so there's other resources. There's also something called the manufacturer's database. Now what this is where you can search on manufacturers that use SolidWorks. So if I view by category, we'll go sheet metal, okay, and I can find other companies that are using SolidWorks that are doing sheet metal. And if your company is on support, you're able to connect your company to this manufacturer database. And then lastly, a little way to contact your VAR. Figure out what your reseller is, and this is a good way to be able to contact them. So that's my.solidworks.com. Definitely a resource for you to use. The next one is the customer portal. I'm going to go to just solidworks.com, which is the main web page of SolidWorks. And why don't we do this? We have several of you online. If you could just raise your hand if you have a customer portal account. Raise your hand in the GoToWebinar window if you have a customer portal account. Now, in reality, every one of you hopefully should be raising your hand at this point. Okay, it doesn't look like I have a single person raising their hand. So this is definitely going to be useful for you. Okay, so a customer portal account is just you being able to create that login that we use for the my.solidworks site, that we can use for 3D Content Central, that we can use for the customer portal, a single login so that we can get access to resources. Now here's how you'll create it, since most of you do not have it. You'll go to the solidworks.com webpage. You'll see at the very top here there's a login, right where my cursor is. And there's three types of logins. Obviously you're not a reseller, you're not a partner, but you are a customer. So here is the SolidWorks customer portal login. If I select login here, it's going to ask me for my credentials. And let me just log out because I was still logged in to the single login. My.solidworks actually logged me directly in here. So get logged out. All right, I'm actually going to open a new web page just to make sure. So once I go to login, customer portal, it should ask me for my credentials. Again, same single login that you saw with my.solidworks.com. And I could go in and type my password here. Now this is going to give you access to the customer portal. Now if you don't have a password, here's your option to create a password for all of these sites. And I'm just going to take you into it just for a moment. Create a SolidWorks ID. The first thing you're going to absolutely have to have is your SolidWorks serial number. Okay, what it does, it ties your email address to your SolidWorks serial number. And once you navigate through each of these screens, in the end, you'll be able to log in to the customer portal. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here. Customer portal has a little bit more or different structure to the resources, very different than my.solidworks in that it organizes the information. It still can access information in the knowledge base. Now let's talk a little bit more about the knowledge base. Let's say I'm having an issue in SolidWorks on a particular topic. The SolidWorks tech support engineers, anytime we talk to them about software performance, they log it in an SR. And an SR is just a service request. And if that service request, they find out there's a bug, it gets logged as an SPR, a service performance request. So if I wanted to learn a little bit more about sheet metal unfold, I just type in the knowledge base for unfold, and it brings up, in this case, 222 results. Now, what you're looking for as a user is not just the performance reports, the bugs related to this, but the solutions. And I love doing this. So you click on solutions and you can say, okay, why is this flat pattern different? Well, let's learn why SolidWorks is handling things a different way. And it will talk about why SolidWorks does things a certain way. And some of these will actually have images or PDFs or other information tied to them. This is a fantastic way to learn about SolidWorks. Okay. If we want to sort it by product, for instance, I'm doing unfolded SolidWorks, I can do it by release over here. Or if I put in something general like mesh for simulation, is it flow meshing? Is it simulation meshing? Is it plastics? So the knowledge base is very important for getting information about what's really going on with the tech support teams and what knowledge is available for you right now. Now again, this information does come up in my.solidworks.com, so you don't necessarily have to come to the customer portal to get it. Now this next one you have to come here to utilize. You ever been sitting there using SolidWorks and decided, hey, I really would like SolidWorks to do this? Well, 90% of the enhancements they put in each release have come at least one point in time from a customer request. So this is where you can request enhancements to the product. So all you do is go in there and type in a little bit of information about your requests. BOM table, I'm going to type in. Now these are existing enhancement requests for bill of material tables. I'd like the ability to link a node or title block. Now let's just grab one of these. When you get into the request, if you find somebody who's already put in the same request, what you can do is type in why you need it and what version of SolidWorks, and you can vote for this enhancement. So you're putting your vote in. If you don't see something that's here, it says click here to create an enhancement request. So click here at the bottom, and it will allow you to put in what it is you'd like to see in the software, why you need it, and some screenshots to support your information. Again, a great resource as part of the customer portal. I recommend that you do create a customer portal account and log in and check out all the information that is here in the customer portal. There's a lot here, more than we can cover on any Lunch and Learn, but I wanted you to be aware of what's available. Okay. Now the next one I want to talk about is one of those that we saw a little bit of by going through my.solidworks.com. It's 3D Content Central, and this is put out by the folks from SolidWorks. The website is 3dcontentcentral.com. Now again, you do have to have a login to this as well, so it's going to be the unified login. Okay, once you log into it, you have the ability to search the model library. There's also design library features in here. There's other stuff. There's code, G-code out here. If I want to, I can search by supplier. So if I know that, let's see here, somebody that makes sense. Aerolift. So Aerolift makes suction heads. If I go to Aerolift, I can go right to their individual components. I can find out a little bit more about their different vacuum cups. And when I get to their model section, I can actually download this directly into SolidWorks here. So it asks you what version of CAD you'd like to download. Here's one of the neat things about 3D Content Central is you, in a lot of cases, get multiple CAD versions, including multiple variations of SolidWorks. If I were to select SolidWorks here, okay, well, this one doesn't have any CAD available, but you can see you have neutral formats. There's a lot of information in the libraries, all sorted by manufacturers. If you just type in a search request, it will not only search with suppliers, but there's also a user library. So you and I, as a user of SolidWorks, can create items and post them on 3D Content Central. For instance, I typed in fasteners, and I can go to the hardware section, and I can see, okay, I've got 8020 as supplier. I got all sorts of hardware that's available to me, and there's 35 pages worth. Some of that will be user libraries. So customers that have posted information as well. So again, I would recommend going and creating a login for 3dcontentcentral.com as well. So those are some SolidWorks web resources. That's the SolidWorks YouTube channel. I don't want to forget that. So SolidWorks YouTube channel, if you just Google SolidWorks-YouTube, you're going to be provided with the SolidWorks YouTube channel. You can subscribe to the channel. You'll see that as I get started here, a video will actually start to play, talking about the new Ebola test and how it was developed using some SolidWorks tools. I'm going to stop that. But you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. If I just go to the video section of YouTube, you can see how many different videos are in here. Introduction to electrical, reports and electrical, harnessing, model-based definition. A lot of the different tools that we have from SolidWorks, all sorts of videos on the different tools. Again, SolidWorks YouTube, another resource to learn a lot about what's going on at SolidWorks today. I'm just going to do a quick check for questions at this point. Let's see what we have here. So we have a question. Can you have more than one SolidWorks login email address per serial number? Yes. So within an organization, if you have multiple users, they all use the same serial number. It just ties the name to a serial number that is on subscription service. So yes, if you have multiple users, feel free to create multiple logins. So let's continue on. What does the SolidWorks software provide us for resources? Well, for each new release, we get a document called the What's New document. I'll show you where that is. I want to show you a little bit about the tutorials in SolidWorks if you haven't tried them. There's a PDF file called Introducing SolidWorks, one called Moving from 2D to 3D, another one called Intro to Simulation, and then there's an installation guide that are all within the interface, and I'll show you where to get those resources. So let's go into SolidWorks for a moment. Okay, so let's start under the Help pull-down menu in the top right-hand corner. And the first thing I want to introduce is the What's New document. It can either be given to you in HTML or PDF version. This shows you everything that's changed from 2014 to 2015. In this case, 226 pages. If I want to know what's happened in eDrawings, I can see what's changed in eDrawings. This also has examples, and I'll see how quickly I can find one here, but if it has an example that you can try, it will tell you the path where to open the document to try some of these things as well. So the What's New PDF, great for learning what's changed. If I go down a little bit further, there's a PDF called Introducing SolidWorks. Now let's say this is your, you're just getting going with SolidWorks and you're trying to understand all the lingo and why we do things the way we do. this is where I'd start. We have, things like SolidWorks fundamentals. What is 3D design versus 2D design? How is it component based? But it really describes all the different pieces of the interface and the parts and the design tree. And it does it in a very, very nice, logical manner for learning about the software. If you've got a new user coming in, have them start here. Okay, it does have a little bit of almost like tutorial-based pieces to this. It tells you how to create certain things. So it's Intro to SolidWorks found under Help. If you have a user that's coming off a 2D platform like AutoCAD, there's another one under the Help called Moving from 2D to 3D. This is really intended for AutoCAD users or 2D users to come from 2D to 3D. What I like about this most is it explains the different approaches to modeling in 2D versus 3D. How to visualize, what are templates, what are the parts that we're managing, and almost just as importantly, command mapping. So if I use this command in AutoCAD, this is the command in SolidWorks. It's called Moving from 2D to 3D. It's found under the Help. Now, also in the SolidWorks installation directory, I'm going to give you a moment to write this down, but you're going to go to C, Program Files, SolidWorks, SolidWorks Corp. Let me just click on that here. So C, Program Files, SolidWorks, SolidWorks Corp. And you're going to go in there under Lang English. And I can send this path to you if you'd like, but there's the full path. In here, there's a few other documents that aren't as easily accessible as the others. If I scroll down, I'm looking for the PDF files. There's two of them in here. Notice here's the Intro to SolidWorks PDF, but there's also the installation guide for SolidWorks. If I open this up, this talks about the different ways of installing the products that we offer. So how to do individual installations, how to be an administrator, what you've got to do. And then there's an introduction to simulation. So if you're trying to learn more about our FEA product and you're not sure where to start, this is a great way to get going here. It does have a nice bit of contents, a little bit about how we do things in simulation, fundamentals, and so on. So again, another resource that's there as part of the installation process in SolidWorks. Okay, so something to keep in mind, resources that get installed when you have SolidWorks on your system. Now, here's where we come in. CAD Dimensions as a reseller, we try very hard to provide extra value to your maintenance dollars, provide resources. We put a lot of thought into the information that we put out. So here are some of the things that we're doing. First of all, we blog twice a week. So you will see on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you will see CAD Dimensions blogs. I will show you where to get to that. We've also started something we call Tech Tips. We said they're 3 to 5 minute videos about a very short topic, something you can learn very quickly. And I'll show you where to get to those. And then, just like we're doing today, we do Lunch and Learns, where we teach you about a portion of the software or something in the software that's going to help you. And today it's all about resources and learning the software. We also have our own YouTube channel, and we do have a Twitter account, which we often tweet about all the other things that we're doing. So let's start with the SolidWorks or CAD Dimensions blog. So the web page for that is caddimensions.com/blog. And what you'll find is our existing blog with our most recent article published yesterday about a company called Riverhawk that's using DriveWorks Express. You'll also see the various categories of blogs. You can see there's 81 blogs on SolidWorks CAD, and you can see how it breaks out here. If you click on the little read more here, you could read more about the blog, and you can see this one's fairly lengthy. And at this point, you could vote for it, you could share it, you could tweet it, and so on. So the SolidWorks blog is one thing. Now, CAD Dimensions blog. Under the CAD Dimensions page, also there is, under resources, a section called the video library. So what we're doing right now is a lunch and learn where we're creating a video. And we really have two videos that we focus on that CAD Dimensions creates. One is the tech tip. Here's an example, a tech tip on SolidWorks inspection, one on Composer. A couple that I've done. I did a tech tip on the Flex feature. If you've never used Flex in SolidWorks, there's an example of that. But again, I can get to these tech tips. The lunch and learns, so I just click on that. These are different lunch and learns that we did. I did one on design simplification for large assemblies and managing content for enterprise PDM. So these are all located, and I think we kept the last 6 videos for each on each page. So if you're not going to find the video you're looking for here, where you're going to go is actually to our YouTube channel. So CAD Dimensions /YouTube. Just type that right into Google, and you're going to get something very similar to what SolidWorks had. A page in YouTube that runs a video, but our video section has a lot of how-to videos. We've been doing lunch and learns for many years now, and all of our lunch and learns are archived out here. There's a few of them that have almost 20,000 views on them. So some of the ones on piping and so on are in here. Let's see if I can get most popular. So our most popular is actually tubing, which is 52,000 views. So these are being viewed by people all throughout the world, but they're a great resource for you to learn, again, about the things that we're doing at CAD Dimensions. Our tech tips will be out here, and our lunch and learns will be out here. Once they are old enough to be off our webpage, they get archived out here. The webinar from today will also be out there. So another resource that we provide. And the last one is the CAD Dimensions Twitter account. Again, just search in Google for CAD Dimensions Twitter. If you do tweet, I recommend you follow us. We have almost 1,700 people following us, or we're following 1,700, 382 following us. And we do tweet pretty regularly about the different things that we have going on within CAD Dimensions and within SolidWorks. So again, another resource for learning and getting information about what we do. Okay. Now, the last section here is just some online resources that I think are more public resources that I like to show customers where to get information. One is a site called GrabCAD. It's www.grabcad.com. It is a CAD neutral site, so it's not just SolidWorks models out there, but it's very much like 3D Content Central, but for bigger assembled pieces of equipment, not necessarily piece parts, but a lot of user content. There's also a SolidWorks blog I'm going to take you to that has a blog roll on it. I'll show you what a blog roll is. And then just in general, if you've ever got a chance just to search the web for 3D models, a great example that I have is McMaster Carr. McMaster Carr, a lot of their library is downloadable 3D SolidWorks models. So let's take a look at some of those. I want to start with GrabCAD. This is grabcad.com. You can register and create a login for GrabCAD, and I have done that so I can search on models that I might need for different presentations. So once you're in here, these are SolidWorks, not necessarily SolidWorks files, but these are files that I can download and utilize. There is a search function in here, so if I want to search on, I'll just say machine, okay? It will pull up all sorts of different parts and assemblies. Maybe you can find something that's close to what you were working on. What I like to do, however, if you go into GrabCAD, there's an advanced search. I can search on the software type. So if I wanted to only get SolidWorks models, I could go ahead and select SolidWorks as the type, and the search result will only come up with SolidWorks models. So these are SolidWorks models that I can download. There's 736 pages of SolidWorks models. Again, these are user models, not necessarily vendors, but you might be able to utilize this to finish developing your design. Okay. Next thing I want to show is the SolidWorks blog, but more importantly, the blog role. So if you Google, once again, SolidWorks blog, this will take you to the SolidWorks blog equivalent to what I showed you that we do here at CAD Dimensions. And you can see they post fairly regularly. They've had one 2 days ago and one today. Almost every 2 days they'll post something out here about different things that are going on at SolidWorks. But off to the right-hand side of the SolidWorks blog is another section that they call the blog role, where we can get access to other people's blogs. So other SolidWorks users that have blogs, there's 10 or so out here. There's other SolidWorks divisions that have blogs. Some of them may be in other languages. But then as you go down a little bit further, all the other resellers throughout the US are also blogging. So you can choose to follow and see the different blogs that they post. Okay, and notice that you can get access to our blog from here as well. Now, blogging takes a lot of work on our end to come up with a topic and something that's important, but they should be something that only takes you 5 or 10 minutes to read. Something quick, hopefully you learn something easy. We try to pick those topics. If you have any topics, feel free to send me an email, kevin@caddimensions.com. I'll be glad to look at doing a blog post. Or if your company's using SolidWorks and you feel it's a neat tool or unique products that you're developing, I would be glad to do a spotlight on your organization as well. But this is a resource for you to learn SolidWorks using all the blogs. My final piece is just the availability of 3D models from vendors. I recommend, if you're working with a vendor, regardless of who they are, that you first start by Googling whether or not they have 3D models. Just type in the vendor name and type in CAD models, and you'll find out if they have some sort of link to CAD data. If they don't, I would contact them. A lot of these customers and vendors have models, but they may not have a way to present them to you, the user. So many different ways, but I want to take you into like McMaster-Carr. Great resource for getting products. There's a lot of different products out here. But as we get in here, I'll just take bolts and screws. We'll go to socket cap screws. Let's see if I can find one that has a SolidWorks download here. Okay. Notice at the top here, there's a little, for technical drawings, click on the part number. See this little CAD symbol? So if I click on the part number here, okay, here's the little CAD symbol right in the part number. Click on that. And this will take me into the ability to download the physical 3D model. And so many different customers, vendors, have this available to you. Notice I have the ability to download different formats. I just sat, more importantly, SolidWorks directly. Okay, so if you're creating details of just hardware, just to have it in a drawing packet, maybe you can come get this from McMaster-Carr. Maybe that'll help you. So I hope that this helped you today. I hope if you're a beginning user of SolidWorks that this will give you some extra resources to help you to learn different areas of the software. One last thing I want to discuss. I just want to find out if you think that you gained anything from this. So I have one last poll here. Did you find any new resource that you can use? If you wouldn't mind voting on this. I won't be offended if you say no. It just means you're a little bit more seasoned. So that was really my goal today, and I'll go ahead and close and share this here. So it sounds like everyone at least gained some knowledge of another resource. First thing I would do is, once this is posted on the web, go out there and write down all these web pages. Get them linked up so you know exactly where to go to them. Hopefully you wrote most of them down, and start getting used to using them. If you find that maybe there was a lot of information too much in this webinar, at least start using two things: the customer portal and my.solidworks.com, because that's going to have most of the resources for you. But I want to thank you folks for attending today, and I look forward to having you on other Lunch and Learn webinars in the future. Thank you again. Take care.
Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and our blog for more great content by clicking on the links in the description below.